listening to The Wells Report, which will return in 1 minute. The Wells Report returns in 30 seconds. Check, check, 1, 2. North to south, coast to coast, around the world, this is the Wells Report. Good morning, I'm John David Wells. On this broadcast, we report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We de-propagandize the mainstream media. We also make commentary. Commentary is not news, it's opinion. So let's compare, let's debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report for Tuesday. This is the 25th day of June, year of our Lord, 2025. We are all recoiling in horror here in Texas and perhaps elsewhere at the brutal murder of American women and others at the hands of illegal migrants. The most recent is Jocelyn Nungaray, and there is news today. The Texas District Attorney, whose office is prosecuting the murder of 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungaray in Houston, has now told Fox News the evidence is clear that a sexual assault likely happened. Harris County District Attorney Kim Ogg made the admission today on America's Newsroom as one of the illegal migrant suspects in the case. 22-year-old Johan Jose Martinez Rangel is set to appear in court this morning. His co-defendant, Franklin Jose Peña Ramos, he's 26, had his bail set yesterday at $10 million. Quote, the evidence is clear that a sexual assault likely happened, but since neither defendant has actually admitted that, circumstantial evidence will have to prove it, said Ogg. We are waiting on lab tests now to see if the capital murder charge can be upgraded to one where they are death penalty eligible. Peña Ramos has admitted to kissing Nungaray and has told prosecutors that Martinez Rangel was even more physically aggressive, according to Fox News correspondent Nate Foy. The case is horrific. Jocelyn's last moments were unspeakable, said prosecutor Ogg on America's Newsroom. She endured assault for multiple hours. This was a little girl who slipped out of her house to call her boyfriend. A 13-year-old was seen by two migrants who had been drinking all afternoon. They picked her up, probably asking for directions, and she was innocent. She walked off with them. We see footage from local stores that show they lured her under a bridge near a Houston bayou, where they attacked her, strangled her, and dragged her body in the water. The prosecutor said today the suspects were captured in a tale of good citizenship and fear. They both entered the country illegally before being released from custody and later allegedly committed the murder. There were witnesses who were close to the two who saw the newscasts, contacted a friend to contact the police because they themselves were in danger. Additionally, these defendants asked their boss, for money, putting together a story that didn't quite make sense, but they were headed out of town and presumably out of the country, which likely explains the $10 million bail. This flight risk made them eligible for a big bond. In Harris County, we haven't seen our judiciary come through with bonds like this, so we were appreciative of the $10 million that we believe will keep at least the one in custody. We'll know about the other one this morning. I doubt very sincerely this judge will back off of that amount of money today. We'll see. By the way, there are people that say this judge has progressive leanings. We will see just how progressive they are. But I do want to point out something. Perhaps one of the reasons why this judge doesn't necessarily pursue some of the courses of action taken by other judges around the country is because in Texas, we elect all of our judges. That provides a necessary check and balance to what has been called Soros prosecutors, Soros judges, etc. Here in Texas, if we don't like what you do, you're going to lose your job. Now, Houston, like many other large cities, is essentially in the clutches of leftist politics. But there is a reality here in Texas that many other states envy based on the fact that we have put checks and balances into our government, and our government includes the judicial branch of Texas. And so this may be playing out in front of us. Now, we don't know what's going to happen with these trials. We don't have any idea where this is going to go. All I can tell you is that little girl didn't deserve any of that. And if these men are guilty and proven so in a court of law, then they should be dispensed with, and indeed sentenced to death. They should be dispensed with forthwith. What we don't need is another protracted 20, 30-year mess waiting for the execution of these guys. If indeed they are found guilty, if indeed they are sentenced to death, they should indeed have a very good appeal to make sure that everything was fair. And that should take no longer than 180 days. They should be gone. They should be gone before 270 days. That will send a message far and wide that, as the great Ron White has said in his comedy routines, you kill us in Texas, we'll kill you back. And that should just be the way it is. I got to tell you, I've lived in Texas for a long time now. I have. It'll be 18 years in December. And I'm never leaving. I should have been here the whole time. I belong here. I fell in love with this state because of things just like this. And I've been watching the encroachment of leftist politics, trying to somehow make it the law's fault instead of the criminal's fault. But the streak of right and wrong and knowing the difference goes a lot farther back in the state of Texas than even the Democrat Party or leftist politics in toto. We know what to do here. We know what's right and wrong here. And we stick to it. And we don't find novel arguments to somehow decide that society's wrong and the criminals are right. No, we just take care of them. In one way or another, we handle it. I hope that continues in this case. Because if indeed these men are guilty, I'm not saying they are, it's alleged. If they're guilty, as proven in a court of law by a jury of their peers, and that judge, and this is where the leftist politics may come in again, does decide to find the sand to sentence them to death, then when they do them in, I will be a happy man. We can't have this. And then, of course, comes the inevitable anger and recriminations, very likely, indeed, absolutely deserved, against the government of the United States. And that has to do with the fact that that government, as embodied by the Biden administration, invited those men here. And because the evil Republicans, according to Senator Elizabeth Warren, refused to come up with an immigration deal that essentially codifies all of this chaos down on the border, which is why the Republicans didn't vote for it in the first place. They just don't have the judges. They don't have the judges. They don't have the Border Patrol personnel to be able to keep this border secure. Okay. So what do? Do you close the border down completely so nobody comes in except through the ports of entry? Oh, no. No, you just take these people and let them loose in the country. That's absurd. Absurd to the point of insanity absurd. It's totally ridiculous. Yeah, we just don't have the resources to be able to process these people. How about this? Have the resources to close the damn border down and stop worrying about processing these people. Give them a good old-fashioned United States of America and certainly a good old-fashioned Texas stiff arm and send them home. Let Mexico deal with them. But Mexico, of course, that government's bought and paid for. These people that are coming across the border are drug mules. How many tons of fentanyl now? Over 200,000 Americans dead because of that influx of chemical weaponry from China. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's chemical weaponry. And I'm not the first person to say it either. There's a sheriff down there that talked about that very same thing. I'm telling you. That border is a suicidal opening to a destruction of the American society. Just in the very same microcosm as the destruction of Jocelyn Nungaray. It's horrific. It's horrific. And I got to tell you, if Jocelyn's last name was Wells, I would sue the government of the United States for every dime it had, which is nothing because it's $34 trillion in debt, but I wouldn't stop. I wouldn't stop until I got as far as I needed to get to be able to get the comeuppance necessary, the reckoning that needs to be focused on this government. Well, you can't fight City Hall. Well, yeah, you can. Under circumstances of, say, for example, illegality and negligence. This is both. This is both. I have a pretty good idea what's going to happen. The government of the United States is going to realize this is a mess. And what they're going to do is they're going to send the Nungaray family a huge check. And, of course, a non-disclosure agreement telling the family not to talk about it. Will that be a hush money payment? Oh, wait. Does that mean that right before an election, the Biden administration sends a hush money check to someone who has a real serious gripe to make them quiet? Is Alvin Bragg going to charge, I don't know, Joe Biden with not handling his business properly? Business fraud. You've got to be kidding. Is that what's going to happen? The two cases are not identical, but they're close enough for me to talk about it this morning. And so I am. This hypocritical two-tiered justice, rules for thee but not for me, garbage, is really damaging this nation. And we know exactly who's responsible for it. And we had, by God, better do something about it. Because I'm tired of these headlines, these little girls being slaughtered, and big girls too, being slaughtered by illegal migrants. That's what I think. How about you? 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. This is the Wells Report. I am John David Wells. I have a real problem reporting on the demise of kids. And this is everywhere. They kept her under there for hours. When they were finished with her, they literally crushed the life out of her by strangulation. Sometimes I wish Texas was Utah. Utah still has a firing squad. This is the Wells Report. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. Good morning. John David Wells at your service. John Force is a drag racing icon. You had a bad crash in Virginia over the weekend. We showed it to you. Let me show it to you one more time here on the Wells Report. You can see his funny car headed down the track. He loses control after an explosion.
John Force just blew the thing up and slammed into the wall at the top end of the racetrack. Take a look at this. 302 miles an hour.
That's how fast he was going when the race car headed down the strip, and then the engine exploded. Boom. And then he almost hits the wall. The man is driving the car brilliantly. And then you see him begin to careen across the racetrack, crossing the center line. That's a bad explosion. That was a catastrophic failure in the engine. And then look at this brilliant driving here. Those things do not handle well. He goes ahead and crosses his competitor, realizing there's big trouble, and watch this impact. Boom. And so John Force went to the hospital. And the problem with that is he's still there. He spent time in ICU, and he is still in ICU. Here's the very latest on it. John Force, the National Hot Rod Association great who was involved in a horrific crash at the Virginia Nationals, remains in ICU today. John Force released an update after the catastrophic engine failure leading to his funny car explosion and subsequent crash on 2 of the guardrails. He only hit 1 of them, although he did come back across the track. Attending doctors purposely were moving slowly and assessing the extent of the injuries to the Hall of Fame owner and driver because of the intensity of the impact. That was a huge impact. Now, you sit in a cage. You sit there's a roll cage around the car, but there's also one that you sit in that fits you. And on both sides of this, after the death of Eric Medlin, there are these cushions. And he hit sideways, which meant the left side of his head would have hit one of those cushions very, very hard. Now, I said yesterday that it didn't look like it was essentially that bad, although the carbon fiber body really deformed when it hit. But once again, there's this strange circumstance where if you hit the wall hard enough, the actual cage will bend. If you don't hit the wall hard enough to really injure yourself, that's no problem. But there's this sweet spot where you'll hit the wall and the wall won't bend, or the cage won't bend, and there is no suspension. In other words, there's no give, and all that energy transfers into your body. He was alert and awake when he got out of the race car. The question is, was there, say, for example, a brain bleed? Is there something there that is continuing to cause the NHRA great problems? He also could have a serious concussion, and those concussions at high speed can indeed do serious damage. Kurt Busch, former NASCAR Cup champion, has basically finished his career because of a concussion in what looked like a minor accident to just about everybody watching it. And then all of a sudden, it was serious problems for Kurt Busch. Same story with Little E. Earnhardt, after losing his father, also had some troubles with concussions. I hope that doesn't befall the great John Force. But I'm concerned that he's apparently still in ICU. We're going to continue to watch the story. And when we know more, you will know more. John Force, tough crash. There is a race this week. Who will be driving that big blue funny car? Don't know yet. But it's not going to be John Force. And let's hope that race that we just saw on video is not the last one from one of the greatest drag racers to ever put on a flame suit. This is the Wells Report, Tuesday in progress. Our telephone number, 817-379-2172, 817-379-2172. Join us on the chat room. Looking forward to hearing from you as we continue this broadcast. And when we do, we'll talk a little bit about a plea deal that no one ever thought was going to happen, let alone saw coming. It's next.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Thanks for joining us. If you find value in this broadcast, please, by all means, subscribe to it. Share it with your friends. Ask them to subscribe. Make sure that they like the notification button so that we know when, so that you know when we're on the air. And hit the thumbs ups because those really help us. They really do. Also, don't forget to try to support the advertisers that have joined us on the Wells Report. It means a lot to us. If you can see any of those advertisers, the way... Okay, so here's a little bit of inside baseball. So I prefer on my advertising to do something that's called a per inquiry. If you find value, if you think you can get a deal on any of the advertisers, if you call any of those numbers, the people that work with me know when you call. It's called per inquiry. And we get paid. It would be good to get paid. Really would be good to get paid to do this show. And by the way, we do, thanks to the people on Patreon who have donated to this broadcast. They mean so much to me and to this show that I prefer that if you think you want to donate financially, either contact our advertisers or indeed go to patreon.com/The Wells Report, patreon.com/The Wells Report. Toss us a couple of bucks a month. It indeed helps us a very great deal to keep this broadcast going. And because we kind of think that it's important to have a place where you can go get plain speaking news and what I hope is cogent commentary, that you might be able to help us out. Thanks so much. I appreciate that. Sorry to do that, but, you know, the boat's got to float, and you can help that happen. Thank you. Nobody saw it coming. At least I didn't see it coming. I watch the news every single day, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, comes this headline from USA Today. WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, to admit violating the Espionage Act, will be sentenced to time served, according to the Biden DOJ. Assange argued he was a journalist who published classified documents he was given, but he was charged under the Espionage Act and will be released after spending 62 months in prison fighting extradition to the United States. The key points in this article are: Assange agreed to plead guilty to one felony for conspiring to unlawfully obtain and disseminate classified information related to U.S. national defense, according to federal court records. He's expected to be freed to return to Australia, the country of his citizenship, after serving 62 months in prison, fighting extradition over the charges. This, according to court records, he has been in prison in Britain all this time. The story goes like this. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange, who has fought extradition for years to avoid facing charges for releasing an enormous trove of classified information about U.S. military activity in both Iraq and Afghanistan, has agreed to plead guilty to violating the Espionage Act, according to federal court records. Under the terms of the plea with U.S. prosecutors, Assange will get no more detention time than the 62 months he's already served in the United Kingdom. Assange is set to be released to Australia, his country of citizenship. This after a proceeding today is over, according to federal records. That proceeding, by the way, will occur in American Samoa. One of the conditions that Julian Assange said to his lawyers, solicitors in Great Britain, was that he did not want to set foot in the United States of America, perhaps thinking that he would be immediately arrested and taken to an American prison. Assange agreed to plead guilty to one count of conspiring to unlawfully obtain and disseminate classified information relating to the national defense of the United States, according to a letter accompanying the charging document filed in U.S. District Court in Northern Mariana Islands, a U.S. territory in the Pacific. I thought it was Samoa, but I guess it's the Northern Mariana Islands. The court hearing in federal court in Saipan was arranged because of Assange's opposition to visiting the continental United States. There is reporting on this. It comes to us from NBC. Let's take a look as they continue to show us a little bit more about what's happening with this case and Julian Assange, who is working his way through this.
Julian Assange yesterday boarding that plane in London after spending 5 years in a high security prison there. He's now on his way to the Northern Mariana Island, which is in the U.S. territory in the Pacific Ocean, where, at least according to the deal that is struck with the U.S. Justice Department, he will appear at a U.S. federal court there. He will plead guilty of one charge under the Espionage Act of conspiring to unlawfully obtain and disclose classified national defense information. And then he's expected to be handed a 62 months in prison sentence, which he has already served in London, and therefore he will be immediately able to leave. He will be free. He will be immediately able to leave and go back to Australia, which is his homeland. Well, now let's just recap very quickly how we got here. In 2010, WikiLeaks, which is a website founded by Assange, disclosed and leaked about 500,000 documents, most of which were U.S. military confidential information and reports about the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. An international arrest warrant was issued against Assange, and eventually he was arrested by British police, and he spent all these years in prison trying to avoid extradition to the U.S., where, if found guilty, he could have faced a sentence of up to 175 years in prison. Now, a national security spokesperson said that this was an independent decision by the U.S. Department of Justice, and that the White House had no involvement.
Yeah, the White House had no involvement, except, of course, that the White House and the DOJ that was empowered by the White House has got some very checkered ideologies with regards to who gets charged and who doesn't get charged. Once again, it cannot be left just to, I don't know, a press that will cover for the Biden administration as opposed to covering the Biden administration, that their use of the Espionage Act is somewhat selective, wouldn't you say? Julian Assange, according to everybody that talks about this, released papers that quite possibly got American servicemen killed, servicemen and women. On the other hand, he did spend 62 months in prison. He will be pleading guilty to a felony charge. 1. Has anybody else violated the Espionage Act? I know a couple. Actually, I know 3, depending on your point of view. One, of course, is Hillary Rodham Clinton, who had a server that was out in the open outside of a secured, compartmented information facility, a SCIF, that existed in her own house. She ran that server outside of all that because she didn't want anybody to see what was on it. When we found out about it, she bleach bitted it. In other words, she destroyed the server, along with all the telephones that had anything to do with her time as Secretary of State. Indeed, she was certainly, at least there was a consideration to charge her for some 16 counts of violation of the Espionage Act. How many people did she get killed? Well, if you go back to Benghazi, there are at least a few. But she didn't face charges. As a matter of fact, James Comey, who was the director of the FBI at the time, said she was just stupid. She had no intent. The problem with it is the violation of the Espionage Act, Section 7, says that intent doesn't matter. In other words, James Comey did her a big favor. Now, we already know about the charges against President Trump. Again, violations of the Espionage Act, keeping classified information. This is something that's never happened to a president before. Every president takes classified information out of his administration and keeps it. Except this time they decided to nail President Trump with it. Now, we're going to find out probably this week from the Supreme Court whether or not he has presidential immunity. That would make that case completely disappear. But then again, there's Joe Biden, who kept secure information, classified information, when he was a senator, when he was a vice president. Does executive privilege pass on to Joe Biden as both a VP and a senator? The answer is no. Is he being charged? Well, they looked at it. Robert Hurst said, yeah, we were going to charge him, but we didn't think we would be able to win in court because he's a well-meaning old man with a faulty memory. In other words, not competent to stand trial, but somehow competent enough to not just run the United States of America as the president of the United States, but actually seek re-election. So just exactly what is our government doing here? Now, obviously, the politics of Julian Assange are up to question. But his unwillingness to show up in the United States of America belies his concern about the capricious nature of how the government of the United States, through the DOJ, charges people responsible for what are called acts of espionage. We have to go back to 1971 and the Pentagon Papers with Daniel Ellsberg. Did Daniel Ellsberg end up in prison? Well, let's find out, shall we? Let's just go ahead and use the amazing technology that we have. Let's see. Pentagon Papers. Pentagon Papers. Pentagon Papers. Let's see. The Pentagon Papers, officially titled A Report of the Office of the Secretary of Defense Vietnam Task Force. Yeah. It talked about the political and military involvement in Vietnam from 1945 until 1968. Released by Daniel Ellsberg, who had worked on the study, they were the first brought to the attention of the public on the front page of the New York Times. By the way, was the New York Times ever charged with violating the Espionage Act? No. The New York Times. Is that an arch right-wing publication that brings embarrassment onto Democrat administrations? This would have happened during several administrations, but the one that mattered the most was the Lyndon Baines Johnson administration. A 1996 article, this happened in 1971, a 1996 article in the New York Times said the Pentagon Papers had demonstrated, among other things, that the Lyndon B. Johnson administration had systematically lied not only to the public, but also to Congress. What? LBJ lied to Congress? Was he impeached for it? Was he pilloried? Oh, no. No, he wasn't. Interesting. The papers revealed the U.S. had secretly enlarged the scope of its actions in the Vietnam War with coastal raids on North Vietnam and Marine Corps attacks, none of which were reported in the mainstream media. For his disclosure of the Pentagon Papers, Ellsberg was initially charged with conspiracy, espionage, theft of government property, charges later dismissed. This after prosecutors investigating the Watergate scandal discovered the staff members of the Nixon White House had ordered the so-called White House plumbers to engage in unlawful efforts to discredit Ellsberg, so much for, shall we say, distractions. In other words, the press, the political effort of the day, had a chance to essentially say, look at that shiny object, that Watergate, look at that shiny object over there, and just toss the Pentagon Papers case against Daniel Ellsberg. So for those people that look at this and hold their head and sit there in anguish, in deep fear of the fact that the American government has a two-tiered legal system, apparently it's been going on for quite some time, hasn't it? New York Times, friend of the Democrat Party. The propagandist effort of the mainstream media was talked about by President Nixon. He warned us all about this. And here we are. And so Julian Assange, sentenced to time served. Back to Australia. Finally, the mess has sort of been resolved. But not the same for anybody else. So much for equal protection under the law, huh? Anything I've gotten wrong here? 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Our talk line open right now. Yeah, so we have some serious problems in this nation. And it's not just Democrat. It's political. And how do you stop problems in the government when the government believes that it itself is the only any real power in the United States? You throw the bums out. That's how you do it. I was talking about this earlier today. I was talking about the interactions between the Democrat Party and the Republican Party. And the executive producer of this broadcast, Dirk Steele, said, it's a lot like the Harlem Globetrotters. They don't play. They used to play against pro teams, but they don't play against pro teams. They play against the Washington Federals, which is basically nothing more than a basketball equivalent of pro wrestling, where the outcome is already known, and the rest of it is the rest of it. This is the Wells Report. I'm John David Wells. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Good morning. This is the Wells Report. Noon in just a few more minutes as we cruise through Tuesday, January 25th, year of our Lord 2024. The Israeli Supreme Court ruled today, which was earlier because they're on the other side of the world, in a unanimous decision that ultra-Orthodox Jewish men must be drafted for military service. The court said without a law that distinguishes between Jewish seminary students and other draftees, Israel's compulsory military service system applies to the ultra-Orthodox as it does with other citizens. This, according to reporting from the Associated Press via Fox News. Ultra-Orthodox men have long been exempt from the draft, which is compulsory for most Jewish men and women. The exemptions have sparked anger among the secular public and led more to provide division amid Israel's ongoing war against Hamas terrorists, as the military has called up tens of thousands of soldiers for its conflict in Gaza. More than 600 soldiers have been killed in the 8-month-long war. Politically powerful ultra-Orthodox parties, which are the key partners in Prime Minister Menachem Begin, did it again. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government coalition do not support any change in the current system. If the exemptions end, the governing coalition could collapse to prompt new elections, which may be why the Supreme Court of Israel has acted in this way. This is what happens when you have a Supreme Court that plays politics. And that's what's going on here. These people aren't stupid. They know exactly how to tear up a parliamentary government. Remember, they don't have the kind of government we have. They have a parliamentary system where the prime minister is elected by the legislature, therefore is a creature of the legislature. And they don't have a two-party system. They have multiple parties, and you have to build a governing coalition. And so by coming up with a military conscription for ultra-Orthodox Jewish men, which has long been the case, they just simply do not participate in military actions. By doing that, this is a weakening of the Netanyahu government in wartime by the Supreme Court of Israel. At this point, normally I would say shame on them. I would. But you know, there are a lot of different things that happen in parliamentary systems that work to the detriment of peace and tranquility, of prosperity and amity. And this is one of them. Isn't it amazing to see just how far the tendrils of power from Hamas are able to work their way, not just into the government of Gaza and perhaps the government of the West Bank, which is run by a different set of people, theoretically, but also through the world's media and through the world's population, including the United States. Isn't it interesting to see how many people are trying to work to stop the extermination of Hamas when Hamas is the problem? It seems pathological to me that the Israeli Supreme Court would take this action. As with all things, we'll see. But let's talk about conscription for just a couple of moments. When I was in elementary school, junior high school, and the first year or so of my high school life, conscription was the law of the land. It actually extended beyond that. In fact, people do have to register for the draft, but there has not been a draft. But the idea that there might be a draft, including America's women, for the first time ever, it has been rearing its ugly head. How come? Why is it that suddenly we're talking about a draft? Well, because the U.S. Armed Forces are having trouble getting soldiers to join their ranks. And why is that? Well, maybe because the GI Bill was replaced with a 401k system. Maybe it's because there are people out there that don't want to be targets for various, shall we say, sexual forays between the soldiers. There may be all kinds of different reasons why people aren't joining the military. But what do you do if people don't join the military? Well, you go out and get them, I guess. You just go out and put them in the service. Conscription. The all-volunteer United States military has proven its worth, both in that same prosperity and amity I was talking about a moment ago, because people who want to serve will. But when policy of the Defense Department starts to interfere with the Constitution of the United States, even though the Constitution of the United States is, shall we say, enforced by the United States military abroad, you're not really there to practice it. It's a famous quote. But that being said, are we really, because of leftist policy, the social experiment that is the United States military these days, and the subsequent failures of recruitment, are we actually going to see a draft in the United States again? They say that this is going to have all kinds of divisive effects in Israel when these ultra-Orthodox men get conscripted into the service. Well, what do you think the division is going to be like if suddenly we have a draft again and our sons and daughters are put into a military they don't want to join. I remember all of that during the Vietnam War. I remember who went and who didn't, who got deferments and who didn't. Do you? This is the Wells Report. Thanks very much for being a part of our broadcast. We'll be back coming up in just a couple of seconds with hour number 2. In that hour, we'll talk a little bit about the Thursday debate coming up in these United States and just exactly what people should do or not do to watch and to learn. Back in a moment.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship.
Call 877-655-6870. That's 877-655-6870. 877-655-6870.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. Good morning, I'm John David Wells. What do we do on this broadcast? We report the news, honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We depropagandize the mainstream media. It's necessary. It's something we have to do because the mainstream media has abandoned the truth and chosen political sides. We do make commentary. Commentary is opinion, yours and mine. There is not a partisan bias on this broadcast unless you consider the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution of the United States, the Bill of Rights, and the Federalist Papers to be extreme right-wing and Republican and all that. What we've seen from the Republican Party belies the fact that they've ignored the Constitution just as much as their antagonists. That's what I see. How about you? You can join us in that debate that I'm talking about by joining us on the telephone, 817-379-2172, or you can join the chat room that is available to you right here on the platform that you're watching. And I think, I'm not sure, but I'm thinking that what I was able to do was I was able to enable the chat in Rumble. So if you're on Rumble and you're watching this broadcast, go ahead and see if you can get on the chat room. I sure would appreciate it. Speaking of chatting, there's going to be a very interesting national chat in a couple of days. USA Today reports President Joe Biden, former President Donald Trump will face off in a rematch of the debate cycle in 2020. The first debate was notably feisty, they say, with both candidates consistently interrupting each other. The second debate was canceled because Trump refused to participate remotely after being diagnosed with COVID-19. The third debate was more tempered than the first, as the candidates discussed the response to the pandemic and racism in the country. This year, the two candidates abandoned the Commission on Presidential Debates, good move, and agreed to earlier debates. CNN will be hosting the presidential first face-off from the Atlanta studios, and the candidates' microphones will be muted outside their turn to speak. This is something that is, it belies a lack of discipline on the part of both candidates, insofar as they were not able to keep from interrupting each other. Turns into a food fight. Arguments are boring. We've discovered this on the Wells Report ourselves. People start talking over each other, and it's not a conversation. I explain it very simply. You say something, I say something, or vice versa. We have a conversation. We have a discussion. The Republican presidential primary debates were a joke. They were a joke. It was a mess. Nobody could fix it. And any interference from the moderators created justifiably charges that there was bias afoot on the part of those news organizations. And so we have the idea that now we have CNN, which, by the way, has done something incredibly good. The media competes with each other. And CNN has come up with something that's both brilliant and helpful. What they're doing is they're allowing anybody to take their feed and broadcast it. There are two reasons for this. One, it's the right thing to do, as I said. It allows more people more access to these debates as opposed to just sticking with CNN and saying, well, here you go. CNN is allowing Fox News to simulcast the debate. I suspect that there will be other news organizations that follow in their footsteps. Indeed, they made the debates available to the Wells Report in that same fashion. Okay. Unfortunately, I have a day job now. And so I'll be working on Thursday night and I'll be saying, oh my gosh, I really wanted to run that. I'm going to see what I can do about maybe coercing the executive producer of the broadcast, the great Dirk Steele, to sort of take over our little conclave here, our little, he hates this. I haven't talked to him about it yet, but I'm going to. Maybe he can run the debate on the Wells Report. Maybe he can be a guest host and handle that. He loves it when I ruin his life. Dirk is such a passionate guy. It's really hard for him to be exposed to the news every single day without it driving him completely crazy. So the day-to-day operations I handle because it just drives him into this abyss. But maybe he'll come out of on-air retirement and maybe handle this Wells Report thing. It's not. I'm not laughing at Dirk. It takes a certain level of distance to be able to do this without driving you crazy, and not everybody can do it. I can do it because I believe that the solution is communication, and so I communicate every day, Monday through Friday, from 11 a.m. until 1 p.m. Central Time, and we talk about the news. So let's get back to the USA Today article about these particular debates. If the TV face-offs between Biden and Trump 4 years ago are any indication, viewers can expect a bitter clash and plenty of drama. And then they go and look at the debates from 2020. We're not going to rehash all that. What we're going to do is move to another USA Today article, which is intriguing. It's absolutely intriguing. How Donald Trump could play offense and defense in the first 2024 debate against Joe Biden, while I suspect this is the USA Today editorial board's opportunity to, float a few ideas to the Biden administration. Let's just assume that it's sincere as opposed to hopelessly biased and cynical. And let's assume that they're actually trying to be fair with their coverage. Here's what they say. After spending 6 weeks in a criminal courtroom, there's the bias right off the bat. After 6 weeks spending time in a criminal courtroom, former President Donald Trump gets to play both prosecutor and defense lawyer in another arena, a presidential debate. Trump and his allies say he plans to use the Thursday showdown to indict President Joe Biden, 81, for his age and handling of issues like inflation and the southern border. But the former president will also have to play defense over GOP debates on abortion rights, his own mental acuity, and his sweeping criminal charges that include his May 30th conviction in his New York City hush money case. Okay, so it took him 2 paragraphs to bring that up, but that's okay, because those convictions do indeed play a part in this debate and in this current political climate. Trump asked supporters during a weekend rally in Philadelphia, how should I handle him? Should I be tough and nasty, or should I be nice and calm and let him speak? I'm going to answer that question. Mr. President, Mr. Former President, the more Joe Biden talks, the better chance you have to see him melt down in a spectacular fashion on national television. If I was President Trump, what I would do is I'd do 2 things. 1, I would ignore the fact that President Biden was there. I'd just dismiss him entirely. He'd bring up, well, and you're a convicted felon. And President Trump should say, and you're an unconvicted felon. Let's move on. I want to talk about what's going on the next 4 years. And then go about what he has planned in his Make America Great Again agenda for the presidency that he may or may not get in the 2024 election. And I would keep doing that. I keep dismissing these questions, this interaction between the president and himself, and essentially just debate him right off the stage by not debating him at all. Then the other thing that I would do is I'd ask him questions. So far, the only thing that we see from a standpoint of the Biden administration is the idea that the entire country's problems, from stem to stern, rest on the fact that the issue is Donald Trump. The issue is not Donald Trump. The issue is inflation. The issue is the way the military is handled. The issue is how the southern border is handled. No, it's all about abortion. Oh, okay. All right, that's fine. It's all about abortion. We turned it back to the states. Now, for the next 4 years, I would and will. That's how President Trump handles that. So in other words, he asks, should I be tough and nasty or should I be nice and calm and let him speak? By all means, let him speak. Because Joe Biden will bury himself. He'll bury himself. He absolutely will. So, yeah, when your adversary in a debate is drowning, don't throw him a lifeline. Just keep making him swim. That's all you got to do, Mr. President, President Trump, and good luck with that. It's really kind of weird. I don't think since Grover Cleveland we've ever had one president debating another president. But we have this time, so we'll see. Scripps is a news organization that is, they're trying to be central, and I believe it's working. And they had something to say about this. Let's take a look at this report from Scripps News.
Representative Ronnie Jackson claimed on Fox News that Biden has been taking performance-enhancing drugs. He offered no evidence for the allegation, but Trump made similar claims over the weekend.
As you know, it's been reported that right now Crooked Joe's gone to a log cabin to study, prepare. No, he didn't. He's sleeping now. Because they want to get him good and strong. So a little before debate time, he gets a shot in the ass, and that's...
To claim that Biden will quote, be jacked up on drugs for Thursday's first debate of this campaign season. Trump made the baseless charge during a rally in Philadelphia, where he also mocked Biden for getting ready for the debate at Camp David.
So what you need to keep in mind is this. When you reach a certain age, actually, it doesn't really have anything to do with age. You sleep for a reason. If you can use a computer analog, when you sleep, you are basically defragging your hard drive. And that's a good and necessary thing. As you get older, you have more data in your head that has to be reorganized, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what your brain does when you're sleeping. So when you get older, you do need more sleep, especially if your entire life is built around communication. When I find myself in a situation where, say, my thoughts are a little friable and so on, I resolve to go to bed early. It works. It does. But as far as the brilliant statement about Joe Biden getting a shot in the ass, there are many of us that believe, just as Congressman Ronnie Jackson does. He's an MD. He believes that indeed Joe Biden is on performance enhancing drugs. And so President Trump has volunteered to undertake a drug test before the debate if President Biden agrees. Trump made the comment, and this, by the way, from Fox News, Trump made the comment via Truth Social, his proprietary social media platform. drug test for crooked Joe Biden, Trump wrote in all caps. I would also immediately agree to one. So the question is very simple. Do you believe that Joe Biden is on performance-enhancing drugs? Yes or no? And why? 817-379-2172. Scripps made it abundantly clear that without evidence, that's what he's saying, without evidence, Donald Trump said, my God, he's on performance-enhancing drugs. No evidence. Well, okay. Except the evidence of seeing two Joe Bidens, the one that stumbles and mumbles and falls asleep, versus the one where his eyebrows are furrowed and he's speaking too fast and he's angry and he's reading the State of the Union speech. So is there more? Sure. And we'll be discussing that as we continue here on the Wells Report. Telephone number 817-379-2172. Let's talk. It's the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. I'm John David Wells. The debate is coming up on Thursday night. I was planning on taking it live, but like I said, I'm going to have to conscript Dirk Steele to run it on my behalf, and hopefully his head won't explode. So this debate, how will Donald Trump handle it? Well, the expectation game is going on right now. They are trying to set a low bar for Biden. That's the Democrat folk. But they really can't set the bar that low, because what you're looking for here is a serious gaffe, a mental bumble, and depending on, and yes, I believe the president is on medication. I believe if they mess that up, then it's going to be a problem. The president is going to stand up for 90 minutes, and he's going to be thinking for 90 minutes. How many of those minutes will he be lucid? Don't know. The age thing. They're talking a little bit about how President Biden is very, very, very old. President Trump is a few years younger. But that being said, there is age and then there is age. Obviously, like most presidents, the job is very, very tough. And Joe Biden is not the man who debated in 2020. He's just not. And I keep worrying about his health. Ronnie Jackson, who used to be the White House doctor, he says that the president should be drug tested for performance and enhancing drugs. And of course, the former president says, well, if he is, I'll do it too. And the toxicology report on all of that, not that that's the right word, but the actual analysis of that blood would very likely be something that none of us would ever see, because it kind of violates HIPAA law. So I don't know exactly where this is going to go, except maybe it's just a little shot across the bow. So Trump being just a few years younger than President Biden, I don't believe he should spend a whole lot of time on it, because it's obvious. And I believe that the debate will make President Biden's age obvious. And I expect that President Trump, if he's smart, will deal with it as it comes up and say, well, the difference between me and President Biden is obvious. All you got to do is walk up a flight of stairs and you can see it for yourself. And of course, then they'll bring up that ramp that was very, very slippery that President Trump, sort of at West Point, when he was going down this ramp, it was very slick. And so if the president, the former president, nails President Biden with the border, if he nails President Biden with the economy, if he stays on message and allows Joe Biden to freelance his way right out of the office as opposed to the other way around, then I think President Trump has a very strong chance to be able to win this debate. Like I said, at some point, all you have to do to nail President Biden is just keep listening. Keep listening to what he has to say. And there's something else. President Biden doesn't have a record to run on. And here is the tactical advantage. So if President Biden gets messed up and starts bumbling around and so on and so forth, the Trump of the past might have interrupted and taken him off the hook. Well, there won't be any fig leaf to hide behind for President Biden, if that indeed happens. And the other thing about this is President Biden hasn't talked about the future. Since he can't run on his record, then he has to start talking about what he's going to do in the second 4 years. Well, he can either double down on the fact that the first 4 years have been the greatest presidency of all time, which is clearly not the case. Or he can say we're going to change policy and then thus admit that the first 4 years were problematic. So that's how you win a debate, Mr. President. I'm talking about President Trump. That's how you do it, former President Trump. I certainly hope there are people much smarter than me that will get him that information and hopefully provide him with the reasons to be disciplined enough to indeed stick to it. We shall see, shan't we? All we have to do is wait a couple more days. This is the Wells Report. I am John David Wells. It is Tuesday, the 25th day of June, year of our Lord 2024.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. The Wells Report in progress. I am John David Wells. Thanks very much for joining us. Before we get on to the rest of the broadcast, something interesting happened in Major League Baseball. I believe it happened last night. The Detroit Tigers playing the Philadelphia Phillies. And it turned out to be a very rare play. A triple play, in fact. And there are different kinds of triple plays. For example, I was playing third base one time and somebody hit a very hot smash to me. It was a line drive. I caught it. I stepped on the bag to get the runner at third, and then I fired the ball across the diamond and nailed the guy at first who wasn't paying attention. It was an unassisted triple play. And it was instinct. I was running off the field and people were looking at me funny, and I'm going, what? I really didn't have any idea what I had done until somebody said, you just did an unassisted triple play. I went, oh, that's kind of cool. So it happened last night, and this is how it looked. And I thought what you'd like to do is you'd like to see just exactly what a triple play looks like in baseball.
The 8 and 9 batters for the Tigers, and now Matt Vierling, the former Philadelphia Philly.
Trade a run for an out here.
Or two.
Or two.
Or three.
Broke his bat, loops it right back to the mound. Harper will get the double play, and now they'll throw it to third for a triple play.
Unbelievable.
McKinstry had no idea what was going on. It was a little humpback liner back to the mound. That was the first out. To first for the second out, and then across the diamond comfortably for a triple play.
Wow.
And the pitch.
Pretty impressive.
Broken back.
There it is again. Goes to first, gets the runner off first. And the runner on
catch. Nola throws to first for the second out, and then he throws to third for a triple play. Matt Vierling, that was a low line drive into the glove of Aaron Nola, and it's a 1-3-5 triple play. And what a grin from Aaron Nola as he comes off the mound. That's one way to get out of it.
Yeah.
Broken bat. It goes right back to the mound. They've got one over at first, and I believe McKinstry was off and running as well.
So there you see the three different broadcast teams and the way they called it. You know, it's one of those things. The runner on third made a mistake because he thought that the bat was the baseball. It went over his head, so he ran home because it was short. He thought that maybe they might be able to come up with a play at the plate, and he was able to, he thought in his head, okay, I'll take care of it. In other words, he thought the piece of the baseball bat was the ball as opposed to the ball floating gently into the hands of the pitcher who throws it to first, because the runner on first obviously thought that the baseball bat was indeed the ball, and he got caught in a forced play, and then they went across the diamond. A triple play. Kind of cool. At least I think so. Thought maybe you'd like to see it in what has been, even though it's only 2 days old, a very contentious work week. It's only 2 days old. And when it comes to the news, crazy things have happened. By the way, while we're sort of digressing here, let me go ahead and go back to the chat room and see what's going on here. Remember, I think I enabled chat on Rumble, so if you're watching on Rumble, go ahead and see if you can float us a text. We started our broadcast by talking about the 12-year-old girl who was slaughtered by a couple of illegal immigrants, according to the charges. And there have been some interesting comments. Alicia said, sick to death of feeling unsafe at every turn. Yeah, me too. You're not the only one. Then she goes and says, bring back the guillotine. I'm not sure that's the answer, but let's debate. Yvonne said, but JD, the stories of illegal immigrants being lawbreakers is overblown. My question is, isn't one death from a scumbag one too many? Yeah. Not that we're calling these guys scumbags yet, because they still are innocent until proven guilty. Anybody who preys on anybody else is just sick. It's true. There are monsters everywhere. It's true. Let's see. Then Alicia said, back to the garden. I really believe at some point they may drive people into an eye for an eye. In other words, people taking care of business themselves because they can't trust the prosecutors. They can't trust the DOJ. You know, it seems like the only people that get thrown in jail are people with R's behind their name. And yeah, people might start taking things into their own hands. It's happened before, especially here in Texas. I wonder if it's going to happen again. I don't know. Jessica Hamilton Kennedy, I hope you're still here, Jessica. Probably not. You're probably teaching your kids. She homeschools her kids. So Yvonne is talking about Joe Biden, who would not be charged by the DOJ because he's old and feeble, well-meaning, and he has a bad memory. And Yvonne says, so old and stupid and senile gets you off espionage charges? Well, apparently it does if you're a Dem, she goes on to say. And when you're a Democrat and go after a Republican, they're shamed and arrested, but fired when the GOP tries to go after Dems. We are blowing away things too out of proportion. Okay. I thought it was Ronnie Jackson. Oh, it's Ronnie Johnson. I got that wrong. I said Ronnie Jackson. Double check it. I might have gotten it wrong. And by the way, Mugwump, thanks very much for bringing that up. Let me see what I got here. Drug screening. Who is right? No. Representative Ronnie Jackson. Score. It's not Ronnie Johnson. But thanks, Mug, anyway. Yeah, it is Ronnie Jackson. See, I didn't Biden that one up. See what I did there? I didn't Biden that one. Oh, it's Ronnie Jackson. Mugwump says, Trump repeatedly referred to him at a rally as Ronnie Johnson. See, that's usually a mistake I would make. You know, because sometimes I'm, what's the word? Dumb. Let's move on. You know, I was just thinking, because I make those kind of gaffes too. And I know exactly why I make those gaffes. I know exactly why I make those gaffes. The reason that I make those gaffes is because I point out Joe Biden's gaffes. And you get a comeuppance. You really do. You know, you'll find yourself babbling along and you suddenly realize you're not disconnected. You're disconnected from reality. And it's all because, yeah, I kind of Biden things every now and then. And it's really bad when you're the president of the United States and the verb describing bumbling communication is a Bidenism. You Bidened it up, didn't you? Yeah, well, we'll see. It sort of kind of goes with Let's Go Brandon. Isn't there kind of a resonance there? Or is it just me? No, it's just me? Okay, never mind. Let's move on. Nancy Pelosi. When the history is written about former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, it's going to be interesting to see how they decide to frame the career of a woman who, while a congresswoman and certainly while Speaker of the House of the United States House of Representatives, spent more money or was a party to spending more money than anyone in the history of the human endeavor. She is far and away the most expensive Democrat politician anyone has ever seen. When you start thinking about it, thinking about how when she was the Speaker of the House in the first Obama administration, they spent $5.5 trillion. And then they doubled down on it, and the president was essentially responsible for about $7.8 trillion worth of spending. It was $5.1 trillion. And people say, well, Donald Trump spent a whole lot of money too. Yeah, he spent something along the line of $6 or something trillion, less than President Obama. Interesting. I didn't know that until I started looking at it. It's amazing what you can find out with research. But Nancy Pelosi nobody's ever brought the fact that she has spent more money than anybody else in the human endeavor, but she does make ridiculous statements that are calculated. And let me give you another one. This from Fox News, former Speaker Nancy Pelosi, the Democrat from California, has lost confidence in what she calls the rogue Supreme Court. This amid swirling discussions over ethics controversies and a push among Democrats to make the conservative majority a campaign issue ahead of the November presidential election. Yeah. CNN's Anderson Cooper lobbing the softball in front of Nancy Pelosi, said, "Do you have confidence in the Supreme Court?" This, by the way, was on the 2-year anniversary of the court's controversial Dobbs versus Jackson ruling that upended Roe v. Wade. And, oh, by the way, reestablished federalism as the form of government in the United States. In other words, the states get to decide. It's craziness. Anyway, no, Nancy Pelosi replies, "No, I think they've gone rogue. It's most unfortunate, but it's unfortunate further to see what happened to Chief Justice John Roberts. Did he go weak or did he go rogue? I don't know." Well, I believe that Chief Justice John Roberts is attempting to create pages of history for himself in some of his decisions. In other words, novel interpretations of the law. Let's face it. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to realize that talks about the Supreme Court of the United States are a bit dry. And many people would think they were boring. But remember what happened in 2016. The Supreme Court of the United States stood a very good chance of having a decidedly political, liberal majority. And the people of the United States in 2016 realized that was the case and elected President Trump. Indeed, there were people that were set to retire, and one of them said, "I'm not going to retire until there's a Republican president." Interesting. And so we have what is called a conservative majority on the court. Is it a conservative majority or is it a constitutional one? You tell me. 817-379-2172. The other thing about this is this. Nancy Pelosi needs to stop attacking the Supreme Court of the United States. The Democrat wing of the American political system needs to stop attacking the Supreme Court of the United States. They need to stop threatening them by proxy. Or, plainly, Chuck Schumer, you will reap the whirlwind if you overturn Roe v. Wade. And they did. An assassin showing up at the house of Brett Kavanaugh. That should have put Chuck Schumer into jail. That was plainly a terroristic threat, in my view. But no, he's a Democrat, so no DOJ action there. I doubt that he even got a strongly worded letter. But what we have here now is my God, there are ethics problems. Ethics problems in the Supreme Court. Ah! It's unconstitutional for the legislative branch to cast aspersions on the judicial branch and then threaten legislation. You can't legislate against the Supreme Court. And all these people talking about the political aspects of the Supreme Court only talk about the political aspects of the Supreme Court when they're on the short end of politics. And the hypocrisy of all of it, Nancy Pelosi has lorded over, in literal terms, as Speaker of the House of Representatives, she has lorded over judge shopping and the ridiculous leftist manipulation of the court system to legislate in courtrooms agenda items that cannot be legislated in the House of Representatives or elsewhere. And now she's attacking the very courts that have essentially enabled the Democrat agenda, as if they needed more enablement. After all, they did have the Republican Party enabling them left, right, and center. It's amazing. But she needs to stop hassling the Supreme Court. It's gonna blow back on the Democrat Party. It's gonna blow back. You cannot start hassling. You can't start hassling the Supreme Court. Those people are not unethical. And even if they were unethical, as they are the Supreme Court, those ethics become the de facto ethical standard of the United States. And that's baked in the cake. And I really have a big problem with Nancy Pelosi talking about ethics standards after decades in Washington, D.C., and $25 a pint ice cream. I really have a problem. Where'd she get the money for $25 a pint ice cream? Oh, well, her husband is a stock maven. Right. How much of that, those stock buys and sells and so on and so forth were motivated by what was going on through Congress? Ice cream for thought. This is the Wells Report coming up in just a couple of seconds. I guess some good news for the old folk. I'll explain in a moment. This is the Wells
Report.
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Let's see what we have here. Mugwump came up with something here, and this was something that I was thinking about too. He says that Trump added $8.4 trillion to borrowing, including a $3.6 trillion in COVID-19 relief, citing the Nonpartisan Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget. In contrast, Biden borrowed $4.3 trillion, which was more than Trump did. With $2.1 trillion going to COVID relief, much of Trump's non-pandemic debt was due to his 2017 tax cuts, which added $1.9 trillion of debt, which was fascinating. Isn't it amazing that $1.9 trillion were both in a tax cut and then in COVID spending? Strange. Yeah, but tax cuts are not spending. So if you're counting that in the $8.4 trillion, then that would be $6.5 trillion, which is about what I said. So so the website that I was looking at, Mug, did not add tax cuts as a spending point, which is the way it's supposed to be. It's just keeping money out of the hands of people that will obviously spend it. So let's move forward here. Do you know the name Marissa Teijo? She lives in El Paso. She took part in the Miss Texas USA pageant, which is a preliminary for Miss USA. This being reported by USA Today. For the first time this year, the Miss Universe organization removed something that would have stopped Marissa Teijo out of competing. She did not win the crown, but she has won the hearts of many women, from young beauty queens to older women who were inspired by her story. Older women? Miss Texas USA? Yeah. Marissa Teijo, or Teijo, is 71 years old. She's 71 years old. And the organization, the Miss Universe organization, removed age limits so the contestants were more inclusive of those vying for the crown. Fascinating. I thought I could inspire a lot of women to get fit and healthy, so that was my main objective. She said, go in and show Texas that age doesn't matter if you take care of yourself. And I'm not talking about the face. I'm talking about being fit, having a healthy body, and being strong. Teo believes women should not strive to be skinny, but to be healthy and strong. She works out 3 times a week. She lifts weights. She also does cardio by walking her dog up and down her neighborhood's hills, and likes to spin on other days of the week. After competing at the Hilton Houston Bark Hotel in Houston on June 22nd, Teijo is amazed at the support she's received. I'm a little overwhelmed, by the way, by the attention I'm getting. I didn't really think I would get this kind of attention, but it's overwhelming. I'm very happy that a lot of women have reached out to me. And let me see what I can do about doing something about putting this thing on the air so you can see it. Because this gal is not, she doesn't look like your typical little old lady, actually. She looks really, really good. Let me see if I can put this up here so you can see it. She's really quite lovely. So let's take a look. Let me see if I can make that a little bigger. And she does obviously, oops, wrong way. And she obviously does take care of herself immensely, because she's just as fit as anyone. I mean, no doubt about it. And that takes, by the way, a whole lot of work. If you are watching this and you're, say, for example, in your 30s or your 40s, you really don't have a whole lot of, you can't believe how hard it takes to work how much work it takes to look like that. You don't. But good for her. Good for her. I'm very glad that she competed. Although there is something else. There's something else I wanted to talk about. Is this something that should be reserved for younger women? In other words, is the fact that Ms. Teijo is somebody who is older, is she taking a place of someone who would be younger? And are beauty pageants a celebration of youth? The Olympic Games, for example, they are a celebration of youth. In fact, let the youth be served is their motto. And I think about this from time to time, because I've been on the air since I was 15 years old. I'm 66 now. That's 51 years. Should I have left the broadcast seat? Should I have left the microphone and moved into radio management to perhaps pass along the things that I have learned to other broadcasters? I've done that anyway. But is there a time when you have to get out of the fighter pilot seat? And did Ms. Teijo spend too much time in that fighter pilot seat? I don't think so, really. It's not a great analog, but it is something to consider. Are these beauty pageants for the young, or are these beauty pageants for everyone? Let me know. Send me an email at thewellsreport@frontier.com, thewellsreport@frontier.com. In the subject line, in all caps, if you would, please do put the platform name that you're watching this broadcast on. I would appreciate it immensely. Mugwump, by the way, watches on Twitch. Yvonne and lots of other people watch on Facebook. Who else did we get? What other thing? Nobody called me from. Nobody chatted from Rumble. Rumble on Rumble. It's live. The show is live on Rumble, and I'm trying to get people who watch on Rumble to either send me an email. Once again, that email address is thewellsreport@frontier.com. Okay, or try to join the chat. I want to make sure that chat room is available to the folks on Rumble. On Patreon, you have to send me an email because the Patreon show shows up later on in the day. This has been the Wells Report. See you again tomorrow. And just like that, we survived another one. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to run. I got something I got to do, or 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 or 15 or 20. So I will see you a bit later. Shall I? Why, yes. Until then, take good care. Be safe. Make good decisions. Especially look over your shoulder. Watch your